All right, guys. Yo, welcome back to another episode, season 2, the first episode of the Sobriety University podcast. Really freaking excited for this one, guys. Like, this is a one out of left field, and I cannot wait to dive into this. We are joined today by ex-professional wrestler Jesus Ricardo Rodríguez. What is up?
And we're off to a great start.
Butcher the name. Nice. Cool. Not high, guys. Promise. So, yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, and it's great to meet you.
No, of course, I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you for the invitation. It's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, cool. So as always, we just dive in. So first, I don't know where to start, with the drugs or with the WWE. Let's do the WWE because that's what I'm most excited for. So tell us, how'd you get into wrestling? What's that story like for you?
So I've been wrestling for the last 17 years. It's going to be 18 years coming in July. June, July is going to be 18 years. I started originally from Los Angeles, California, born and raised. I got to live down in Mexico quite a bit, which is where you're at the moment, between Michoacan, Mexico City. Yeah, it was a cool experience. I mean, I was a late bloomer when it came to professional wrestling. I used to watch it when I was a kid, and then as I got older, kind of drifted away for a little bit, and then towards the end of high school time frame, I kind of got back into it. And it just kind of went from there. I used to do the whole backyard wrestling thing. And then eventually from there, I decided to go get trained. I did the independent scene for about 4 years. I got to travel throughout the U.S. I got to do Europe a few times, all before WWE. And then in 2010, I got a tryout with WWE at the Staples Center, which I don't even know what the Staples Center is called now in L.A.
Okay.
I did the tryout there, and then I got offered a contract. And that was in my first time with WWE was August 10th, 2010 at the Staples Center, and I was signed about a month officially. I was signed about a month later, and then from there, from August, it was just nonstop traveling. My first time outside of California with WWE was in Boston, Massachusetts, at the TD Garden, and it just kind of went from there. And then I ended up moving to Orlando, or to Tampa, Florida, rather. 2010, it was like October 2010 when I moved to Tampa, and I lived in Florida for about 9 years or so, roughly.
Okay.
From there, I ended up going to Texas. To Texas, I ended up going back to California, and then I just jumped all over the place. And we can get into that a little later, but I was everywhere. I was very thankful that because of the WWE, I got to experience a lot of amazing opportunities and experiences. Be it, I mean, obviously the travel, getting to go to places I never would have imagined I would have ever traveled to, performing in honestly the biggest arenas in the world. So. In the U.S., I mean, I mentioned the Staples Center. I mean, the American Airlines Arena, Miami. Same thing in the AT&T Center in Texas. Madison Square Garden. I got to perform in Madison Square Garden several times. We did, the O2 in London. We did so many different arenas, which is honestly a true blessing. Mm-hmm. And that lasted till around 2014, 15. Okay. When I left WWE, I moved to India. I lived in Jalandhar, India for about 6 months. I opened up a wrestling school in India. When I finished India, I ended up going to Australia. From Australia, I jumped over to England, went back to Mexico. And then during COVID time, I spent about a year in Cairo, Egypt. Ooh. So I lived in Cairo, and then I ended up here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Sweet.
all because of wrestling.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. So many questions. I guess the first one is let's dive back a little bit. So when you got that opportunity to get the tryout, how did that come about? Like, were you winning matches? Is that, and then your name kind of started spreading within like the underground scene? Is that kind of what?
It's not. I mean. You develop. It's a whole. I'll try to put it in simple terms, in a simple way. My name was kind of getting around, and then through the travel or just getting around the independent scene here in California. Over in California, I'm in Pennsylvania now. Mm-hmm. Over in California, I ended up working for a promoter named Jesse Hernandez. He used to run a company called EWF, Empire Wrestling
Okay.
Federation. And right after the first time that we met, he basically offered me a spot for a tryout that was coming up in
Mm,
like 2 months. So he never owed me anything. He just straight up said, "Hey, WWE's coming to town. They're looking for people of of you, basically like you.
mhm.
Would you be interested in the tryout?" And of course, I said yes. I ended up going to the Staples Center on that August 10th. I did my tryout. They had offered me a spot the next 2 days for this thing that they were filming in Bakersfield, California, and in Fresno, California.
Okay.
Um, so I went, I did my deal, and they offered me a contract on the spot.
Wait,
Um,
that's so
but
sick.
yeah, it was a matter of right time, right place, right time.
Mhm.
They're looking
Yeah.
for something that I was able to perform, and I was able to offer what they were looking for, and then it just kind of went from there.
Oh man, that's so sweet, dude. Yeah, I've seen that one movie like with The Rock and the girl, like the wrestling of the girl.
Yeah, I was there when she did her tryout. I was there when she did all that,
Yeah.
like in real life.
No way,
In
dude.
real life, it wasn't quite like that. Obviously, there's a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of like
I figured.
movie. There's a lot of movie, but I was there for all of that, and all. It wasn't like that, but it was still great. It was so great to see Paige and her family being showcased. So that was awesome.
Oh, cool, man. Wow, dude. I'm tripping right now. So yeah, and then you said you moved to Egypt for the school. Was that the reason you decided to go? Was that the main reason, or was it more just kind of exploration,
When I went to Egypt.
or the place you went to 7 years to open the school? That was Egypt.
Oh, so no, that was in
India.
Tampa when I went.
India.
Well, when I went
Yeah.
to when you get signed to WWE back then, the training school that WWE has was in Tampa, Florida. So you have to move to Tampa.
Mm,
That's where the developmental system is at. At the time, it was called FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling, and so yeah, I got to spend some time there, and then they ended up moving operations from Tampa to Orlando, which is now called NXT, which is a huge multi-million brand within itself now,
yeah.
and it's massive. So I was there during that change between Tampa and Orlando,
Okay.
and like I said, when my time was up, when I ended up leaving WWE, I became an independent, so I just kind of started doing my own thing, and I went to India, Australia, all this other place, and in Cairo.
Sweet, man.
I was on
Yeah,
my
I
own.
myself, I my dream was to DJ and do music and perform and get to travel. So I'm big into
Okay.
traveling too, and that was kind of my hope and dreams was to be able to travel and do all that. And so that's really cool that you got to experience that travel aspect through your career, like the 2 for 1. That's
Sure.
that's very sweet. Now, I think a question we all have is, okay, when like how hard do you have to like you guys get beat up? Like I've seen some interviews and stuff, aka you need something to mask that pain. So that's why we're
Yeah.
here today. Let's dive into okay, what how'd you get into substances? When did that journey begin for you?
So I mean, it began early on. I mean, because I mean, growing up and then just you're a teenager, you're around alcohol, you go to parties, it becomes it's a thing. I mean, you want to be cool, you want to fit in. So the whole idea was like, oh, you don't drink, you're boring. So that the whole idea kind of stuck around for so long, and then as we started traveling, it became so much easier because we were popular. Anytime we went
Uh,
anywhere, we would go to a bar or anywhere, people would offer us drinks, and we were just sure, why not?
yeah.
The party lifestyle kind of became a thing. And at the time when I think it started really getting a lot more serious, it wasn't because we needed to mask the pain or anything. It was more so just because we were stars.
Okay.
We were legit global stars. Because if you are aware of what WWE is, WWE is a global international thing. So if you're on WWE, and especially what myself and my partner were doing, his name was Alberto Rio. What we were doing, we were main eventing everything for the first 2 years, solid main event. So we were up there, right? We were feuding with John Cena. We were feuding with we were CM Punk, we were feuding with Edge, Rey Mysterio. So
Damn,
we were up there.
yeah.
Um,
It's like,
I mean, yeah, I mean, we had action figures, you know. Uh,
dope, dope.
but so yeah, so we were living that whole rock and roll lifestyle.
Right.
Um, and then, I mean, just like anything else, it was fun until it wasn't, and then we lost control of it. Both my
Okay.
partner, and his name Alberto, I call him my partner, but my brother. Uh, we both lost control of it, and it got out of hand. And yeah, eventually, I'm pretty sure our performances started to show that we were obviously not fully committed to it because either we're hungover, we're planning on the next what the next party was.
Okay.
You know, the whole the sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Uh, so we were on that binge basically for a good
Okay.
solid while, and eventually it wasn't there anymore. Uh, I left when I left WWE. And I've been very open about all this process and stuff, so it's not
Mhm.
like it's anything that's a secret. When I left WWE, I didn't have anything anymore. I had the time and the money. I had a lot of time and money. Um, so, but the only thing that I was missing that spotlight. I wasn't traveling anymore. I missed that adrenaline from being on the audience, from being in front of the crowd. I missed that.
Yeah.
I was so constantly on the go because the WWE schedule was very. It's still I don't know what it is now. Rather, I don't know what it is now, but it was very hectic and all over the place.
Okay.
So we were always go 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 go. So that when all that stopped, and like I said, I had a lot of time and money. Uh, I kept going with that mentality of the rock and roll lifestyle, the partying, the sex, drugs, rock and roll. Um, so I still kept going with that, but I wasn't going anywhere. So I didn't have anything over my head saying, "Hey, stupid, you have to go to work tomorrow, or you have to do this." Right? I didn't have that anymore.
Sure.
Uh, so it was just nonstop for a good couple of years, and then um, I didn't know how to control it. Uh, because yeah, once you get that taste of that sort of lifestyle, it just becomes an addiction. And ultimately, I was trying to supplement that high from being in front of an audience, that adrenaline rush. So what else would I have? Well, let's go get messed up. Let's go to the clubs. Let's go meet some people, get the drugs, and to kind of supplement that adrenaline that was missing from us.
Mhm. And what were some of those drugs you were into?
For me, so it was cocaine. Coke was my drug of choice, but it was only when I was drinking heavy, which obviously was a lot.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, there was a lot of cocaine that was involved,
Okay.
especially after when I was on my own, I would go and I would find whoever had it, and that was it.
Wow.
Uh, but yeah, and then I mean, if anybody's ever been on it, like yeah, it's fun until it's not, until you
Yeah.
start crashing and crash, it sucks.
Mm.
Uh, just like just like a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you start crashing, they're terrible. And then every single time I would try to tell myself, all right, that's it, I'm done. I'm not gonna do it anymore. You sober
Mhm.
up a little bit, you give it like a week or two, and then you're right back on it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. Well, that's funny because when I made the thumbnail, I just guessed cocaine. So I'm
yeah.
glad that was the correct guess. Um, yeah, it's I like how you put that. Like it doesn't really matter the substance. It's just that same cycle of that come down and then chasing the high again.
Yeah.
And I mean, it can really be anything, as we talk about in this channel. It could be, even just relationships or and
Yeah.
one thing that really stood out is, and I can relate to, even though I haven't gotten to experience it to your degree, is that come down from the attention and the validation from the crowd and being the center of attention. Like that must have been really tough. In high school for myself, I did sports, and so I was in the paper all the time. I started getting addicted to, like, in my mind, being famous. And
Sure, sure.
then once that ended and I went to, college, and I realized no one gave a crap what I did in high school.
Yeah.
That was like a big blow to the ego. So how did you, besides the cocaine, what was that process for you from letting go of the WWE life and that stuff?
So I was still involved with the independent scene, and I mean, obviously, I still am. I was still involved, and then, but also too at the same time, um, I knew what I had to offer because of what I was doing in WWE, and then what my one of my other jobs within the company was to train people to help, put stuff together, producing agent, being an agent. So I knew I had a lot to offer because that was stuff that I was doing within the company. But I was never, it was never an official role that I had with them. It was just something that they had me doing. So when I came out of WWE and I was like, I can still do all of this stuff. I still can. But again, because of the choices I was making, the constant drinking, and then obviously I was drinking, I wasn't working out anymore because I was always messed up.
Yeah.
So I gained a lot of weight, but
Okay.
I didn't see that though. I gained a lot of weight, so I wasn't getting booked anymore because I didn't look like anything at all of what it was back then.
Okay.
And then I just started getting bitter. I was like, why aren't they booking me? Well, I'm so much better than everybody else. Why is this kid getting booked, but I'm not? I can run circles around him. I'm that way, whatever, right? The ego.
Yeah.
And just like anything else, I mean, I started blaming everybody else. I'm not getting booked because of them. He doesn't like me, so he's putting in the bad word for me. And it was everybody's fault but mine. And I never took accountability. I never realized that it was because of my fat ass. And I was just, I mean, I went on this super angry, bitter rant for a couple of years. And I was constantly putting stuff on social media, basically the F you to this and that. And I hate everybody, I hate the world. And I mean, no wonder nobody wanted to do business with me. So I had such a negative mindset behind me. So it's not going to be beneficial to anybody around me. And then I didn't realize that all the damages that I was making between not just my family, not just myself, but my family, my friends, the people that were close to me, the people that were trying to help me, that can see what was going on, and then that they were trying to offer a help. That they were trying to help offer a helping hand, but I didn't see at the time. I just thought that they were meddling in my business, so I wanted to get them away from me.
Yeah.
They don't understand. They've never been to what I've been to. They don't know my life. They don't know what I've seen and done and whatever. So they don't know me. At least that's, again, what I keep telling myself, right? When I kept pushing people away, and I never took accountability for anything that I was doing. It was just everybody else's fault but mine. I'm right, they're wrong. And when nobody was co-signing my BS, and I would get mad too. So I was constantly mad. I was very, I was very reactive in a very bad way to anything that happened. And then it became a cycle. But it became a cycle though. And then I'll take a step back because I think this is very important too. How this whole thing really kind of started kicking off, especially when I left WWE. Because our schedule was so go. When I left, especially at first, I didn't know how to manage my time, and this constant mentality that I had of like, all right, I have nothing to do tomorrow. I can't go to sleep because I'm so used to this like constant schedule of like, we finished this show at, let's say, 11. By the time we get out of the arena, it's already like 11:30, 12 o'clock. By the time we get out of the city to drive to the next town, maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock. And then it's 3, 4, 5 hour drive to the next town. So we get to the next town, like, let's say 3, 4, 5 a.m. We have to get up early because we have to go to the gym. For the gym, we get breakfast or vice versa, and then go to the arena. And it becomes a repetitive process for like a week, 4 or 5 days straight. And then we're home 2, 3 days, right? But even then, 2 of those days are travel days. So we're at the airport the whole day. We're only really home one day.
Okay.
Really.
Wow.
So that was just a schedule. So when I left WWE and I had all this time, I didn't know how to turn that off in my head. Okay. So I was on the go. I have to be on the go. And yeah, I mean, I had terrible insomnia. I couldn't sleep because my sleeping pattern was all messed up. So I didn't know how to manage that. So I started off drinking wine because wine would make me sleepy.
Okay.
So just like anything else, I would do 1 glass of wine, and then 1 glass turns into 2, 2 turns into 3, 3 turns into a whole bottle. Yeah. 1 bottle turns into 2 bottles. But then the wines that I liked was getting expensive, so I would get box wine. So I would chug a whole box wine. Yeah, I know.
Crazy, dude. Gross.
Yeah. And then from there, I was like, man, this isn't enough. It's too sweet. I'm getting weight. I know what I'll do. I'll get vodka because vodka is healthier, right? Because it's
Mm,
clear. Um, so, and yeah, I would go through the same process again. All right, so I'll have a little bit of vodka, get me sleepy, knock out. And then again, that wasn't enough. So then a whole bottle and then the whole jug. But then the hangovers were terrible. I gotta switch it. So then this is where it started getting fun. Um, it's getting too expensive. Hey, there's these four local things.
ah,
So I
love those.
started going off on these four locals,
Mm.
and then I would get one, and I would two, and then I think at towards the end of it, I was chugging like five a night, um, and it's all sugar, so that messed me up terribly.
Yeah,
Um,
you became a sugar addict by
yeah,
default.
yeah. I mean, that's why like yeah, these are all like no, sugarless, but
Nice,
yeah,
good,
all good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I remember, yeah, the Four Locos came out in high school, and they were just like, everyone would be kind of nervous to drink one. They're like, "Dude, I heard this like fucks you up, man." And we're just like,
For three
"All
bucks,
right, man."
yeah.
And it did because it was high alcohol content and easy to drink. So yeah, man, that's wild. And so when did you realize that? Okay, I was okay, Jesus, I got a problem. My life's not going where I need to go. And when did you start taking that accountability? And
I don't think I fully took into that because I went on a good solid maybe 4 or 5 years 4 or 5 year bender basically.
okay,
And then I made sure that everything I had built up prior to that, I made sure that I had worked so hard to achieve everything that I had achieved. I was so adamant on destroying that thing. Because all my relationships, all my, my bank account, my house, my cars, my any relationship that I had, I threw all that away. Because of I was just constantly messed up. And it wasn't the drugs, it was the alcohol. That was my biggest thing because
okay,
after that, obviously, like I didn't want to go out. I wasn't going out anywhere. I would rather just stay home. There's like a liquor store right around the corner from my house.
okay,
I don't have to go too far. So yeah, it was just a constant drinking. Um, and then yeah, probably wasn't until maybe because I left. When did I leave? I left Florida 2019, I think. And I
okay,
think I went for 18, I think is when I left Florida, roughly. And I went to Texas. I went to Texas for like a little bit. And from there, I went to Mexico City.
nice.
And I was working for the TV company called Nacion Lucha Libre. So we were down in Mexico City, and then we filmed like a season. Excuse me. And then when we finished, I was like, man, I haven't seen my family in a while. I'm gonna go, and then I was going through my BS on there too.
Mm.
I was like, I want to go see my mom. I haven't seen her in a while, so then I went up to California, went to LA, and then COVID hit.
Okay,
So COVID hit, everything shut down. So obviously nothing was going on, and I go back to the same thing. I had time and money, and I didn't have anything to do, and I
yeah,
didn't have treatment. I didn't have any of that,
okay,
and so I went back on my BS.
mm,
Um, and yeah, yeah, that was a bad time, and I love my mom, but I destroyed all of that too.
okay,
The relationship that I had with my mom, I totally destroyed that too, um, and she was very she was not supportive. She didn't kick me out. She held on the whole way through, and man, I made her cry so much. Until eventually, I think it was like May 2000, I think it was, where she's like, "You have to go get help," and I was like, "Nah, fuck that." And so I ended up going to a detox center
okay,
uh, in Tarzana, California, and so I went, and then very first day, it was a 5 day thing, and it was actually on May 1st that I went because I got out May 5th. I got out May 5th. The very first day, the very first like within the first 2 hour or two that I was there and I was in bed, I was detoxing, just sweating and all that other stuff, right?
yeah,
Um, all those beautiful sights. There was this guy that was in the bed next to me who had a seizure, and I don't know what it looked like. I don't know what it was. And then all of a sudden, all the nurses come in because the kid that was on the bed next to him on the other side, I guess, saw it and reported it. And I'm all messed up.
Mm.
Uh, so he had a seizure. They got everybody out, and then but I'm watching the whole thing happen, and my brain's not clicking on what's happening, but I'm watching it. Um, and then so afterwards, they had told us, and I don't know if it was real or not, or it was true or not, or they were just telling us to like scare us. But they're like, yeah, that kid died on his way to the hospital.
Whoa.
Uh, and I was like, holy shit, man, that's wild, because he was just there, and I saw him shaking and all that stuff that he was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was also, I think, yeah, he was high
Harder
too.
drugs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I did 5 days of that, and then they put me on Vivitrol. So I was
Okay.
on Vivitrol for a while, and that helped out. So that was fun. That was good. It did help me out. So I was on Vivitrol for a good maybe like 6 months or so,
Okay.
and then I ended up getting an offer to go to Cairo to go open up a school in Cairo. So I
Sweet.
went to Cairo, Egypt. I went to Cairo, Egypt, and then on and off, I was there for close to a year. And it was such a beautiful experience, such a beautiful time, and man, I loved it. And whatever you see on TV is nothing like that. It's such a beautiful country, and then the people and the culture. Jesus, the culture is so
Oh,
gorgeous.
oh my.
Um, Such an experience. And I lived about a mile away from the pyramids, which is
Wow.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I could see from my balcony, man. It was so awesome. Um, but yeah, and then eventually I ended up coming back to the U.S. and then I went back to my BS. Um,
Okay. So you went back to using.
yeah, I went back to the heavy drinking. I did time in Barcelona. I was in Barcelona. I got messed up in Barcelona. I came back to the U.S. I got messed up in the U.S. and all over the place. Um, I went back to California again, back to my BS, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I was back to my drinking.
Yeah.
Um, then I was in San Antonio, and this is where it started getting a little more interesting because I was in San Antonio, 2002. Yeah, 2002, and towards the end of the year, and yeah, I was just messed up. Leading, not 2002. Yes, 2002. What are we in now? Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So then, around March of 2023 of last, Jesus, I'm lying. It was 2001. So whatever the year was. Anyways, it was in March. Um, I woke up in a detox. I woke up in a detox in San Antonio at the hospital, and I don't remember how I got there. I have
Whoa.
no clue how I got there. But at this point, I kept waking up in detox centers or in alleyways. I kept waking up in my car, in God knows where. I woke up in detention centers a few times, not knowing how I got there, and this one time was the only time I had my phone with me because normally they had taken my phone to put it in like in a little plastic bag, whatever. Then they'll give back to me when I check out.
Yeah.
But this is the first time that I had my phone with me, and then this is in San Antonio, and I think that's when it kind of clicked. I was like, what am I doing with my life? Because I'm laying in bed at the hospital, and I was like, I don't know how I got here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm tired of being tired.
Mhm.
I have nothing to go back to. Everything that I had built up, my whole legacy that I had built up within my name, it's all gone.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to work with me. Nobody wants to do business with me. I look like a fat slob. Yeah, everything that I had is gone. Um, and um, and it just so happened that I went on Twitter and then I posted. I was like, I need help. I messed up. I need help.
Wow.
Yeah, I need help. And it just so happened that Christopher Drosbach, who's the owner of Blueprints for Addiction
Yeah.
Recovery here in Lancaster, and he'll tell you that he doesn't go on Twitter, and he still does. He doesn't go on Twitter much, but it just so happened that day he went on it and he saw the post, And he sends me a message, and he's like, "Hey, if you're really interested in getting help, let's talk. Let's figure something out."
Cool.
And I had known that WWE has this like has help for people who used to work for WWE, and then they encounter something like this that they WWE will help them. So at the time, I was talking to a good friend of mine named Drew McIntyre, and he was trying to get me the contact info. So eventually, Drew got me the info. I called them, but I guess the number that he had was an old number that doesn't quite exist anymore. They're not affiliated with WWE anymore. So I kind of threw it was a whole thing,
Mm.
and so nothing came of it. And then I told Chris, like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it, because I got I have nowhere to go.
Mm.
Um, and then somewhere along the way, I got a hold of the actual person who does the WWE stuff, and then we talked. I had mentioned that I was talking to somebody from Lancaster, to Chris, and then the guy, the WWE guy, he's like, "Oh yeah, we know him. We know of him. Go ahead, set it up, and we can work out the details later." I was like, "Cool." So we set out those details. We did that, and then yeah, fast forward. A couple days later, Chris flew me up. I came up to Lancaster. He signed me up to Blueprints. I did my inpatient, um, and it just went from there. Yeah, but it was one of those things where had Chris not seen that post,
Yeah.
what would have happened?
Right.
Because I mean, when you're in those moods, dude, like you're suicidal, you're depressed. You realize that you don't have anything left. So what's the point of you even being around? And then these ideas go into your head is like, if I'm gone, is anybody gonna care? I've burnt so many bridges at this point that if I disappear, who's gonna really care? Or are they gonna be happy that I'm not a burden to them anymore?
Okay.
Um, so those were the thoughts that were going on in my head, and then because I was ready. I was ready to call it a day. I was like, dude, if I die, whatever.
Mm.
Um, like I'll be gone. I'll be gone. It'll be something off everybody's shoulders. Nobody. I mean, they might cry for a little bit, but that's it. Um, so I was at that point where I was like, you know what? If I die, I die. But then when Chris got a hold of me, and then we went through this whole process, I was like, well, you know what? And I know we didn't touch on this, but in my head, right, I had done everything that I thought I could have done to sober up.
Mm.
Um, the only thing I haven't tried yet was getting help.
Mm.
Uh, so then I was like, fuck it, let's go, let's do this. And then, like I said, he flew me up to Pennsylvania, and then it just went from there.
Okay. Cool, man. I mean, that what a story, and it's great that you finally like that all happened, right? I always say like, higher power intervenes in really weird ways, mysterious
Yeah,
ways. So to me, that doesn't sound like a coincidence. It sounds like it was kind of meant to be. And so you got into recovery. It sounds like you've been clean since, which is awesome. Share with us some of the things that you've learned along your recovery journey, and some of those mindset shifts that you've had that have allowed you to stay off weed and start to see life again for what it really
yeah.
is.
So, I mean, and I know everybody's journey is different. From what I've come to learn, even though we all come from different backgrounds. There may be certain things that we may be different in, but we're all battling the same demon, which is, I mean, addiction. Call it a different name, but it's all the same addiction, right?
Mm.
To a substance, to something, to a person, an activity, whatever it is. We're all suffering from an addiction to something. And
Mhm.
what I've had to learn a lot of different things, and um, a lot of it was to slow down, to take a pause, to not be so as responsive so quickly to a lot of things. 'Cause I was always very angry and very snappy on things,
Mm.
and anything that would be a little bit of an inconvenience, I was like, fuck this, and then I would just go run and drink it away. I've had to learn, the whole idea of like, there's a lot of things I can't control, but the only thing I can control is how I react to things. There's a lot of things in life that will happen. Life was tough. Life is a bitch. It is. It's not fair sometimes. But what I do have the power to is to react a certain way, and then just take it in, take a pause, analyze what's going on, and then kind of move from there. I don't have to respond immediately to a lot of things, because that was my biggest thing. Um, and then another thing that I had to learn was that I ain't shit.
Mm,
I had to calm my ego down. Like, I ain't shit.
okay.
All of this can end. All of this can end like that. So appreciate what we have. Take a moment to breathe, and to see what we have around you. To be mindful that it's not just you. The whole thing doesn't involve just you. It's everybody else too. Um, there was this thing too. And mind you, I'm still learning. It's
For
gonna be
sure.
2 years. It's gonna be 2 years for me in March.
Cool.
Uh, and then
Congratulations.
thank you. What I know now is very different than what I knew back then.
Yeah,
So, and I'm sure that between now and a year from now, it's gonna be a lot different too. Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
the and this is where I think I kind of turn off some people, because especially my one of my first sponsors, or people that was trying to help me out,
Yeah.
we were talking about, he's very religious, right? So
Okay.
I mean, I know where his higher power is at.
Sure.
Um, so he kept going into this whole idea of like, what's your higher power? Um, and I think he was expecting me to say, more so along the lines of God, right? And
Uh-huh.
then early on, I was like, me. He's like, no, you can't do you. You can't put yourself in that kind of a light, whatever. It's like, no, I don't mean me, the person. I mean me, the entity, the energy.
Mm,
um, I hold me, the energy, as my higher power, because right now at this point in time, the love that I offer you is a love is connecting us. That's
mm,
my higher power. I can't. It's hard for me to tell you, do this, do that, da da da, if I don't have that love within myself to heal myself, so I can give to somebody else.
mm.
So I have to make sure that I hold myself to that kind of a standard,
Sure.
where I have to clean my house before I invite somebody else in.
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
and how can I tell you about recovery, or how to be a good person, if I'm going to turn around and be a hypocrite?
Right.
If I'm still battling these like ego trips within me, if I still constantly have hate or jealousy in my heart, um, then I'm tainted. I can't tell you, hey, you be a good person, go help somebody else, if in my heart I have jealousy or hate, or something, bitterness, or something on the negative side. It's to me, it's love. That's my higher power. Ultimately, is love.
Mm,
Um, and that's where, like, I go into the whole essence, the vibe, the energy,
mm.
because I feel like I can attract good people around me if I offer good positive light to others as well. Um, so that, and again, and I'm still learning all this. I'm still kind of going
Sure.
through the process and learning
Yeah.
more about myself, and what I am, what my purpose is, and what I'm supposed to do with life. I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
But that's what I enjoy about this, that I can do this in a sober state of mind, and I can learn from everything that's being put in front of me, and
Yeah.
then analyze it, and then kind of take it and interpret it how I think I see it, and then offer or ask somebody else, how do you see it? And then maybe they might offer something that I did not see at the time. But being open minded to it, and
Yeah.
but again, it's all a learning process to me, and it's a process. It's a process. It's a process. I have to
Process. Yeah.
constantly tell myself, all this is a process. Um, yeah,
Oh, beautiful, man. And a friend told me the other day, is like, just remember, trust the process. And I think that really stuck to me, because sometimes I'm like you, like, I want to get things done. I want instant
yeah,
results. And it's like, nope, got to slow down a little bit, smell the flowers, and then,
yeah.
move on. And I think there's a really good quote from the man himself, the real Jesus. He said, uh, to whom everything is never enough, none will be given. And then to whom everything is enough, more will be given.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
heard that recently, and that really hit, because it made me see that, okay, if I'm not appreciating what I have in front of me, the universe isn't going to give me more. And it's
Right,
not going
right.
to allow me to have more opportunities, experiences, etc. So I'm just like you, Jesus. Like, I'm always learning. Like, I'm going to be learning until the day I die. I've learned a lot in this hour that we've sat with each other. So I think that's, for myself, one of the most powerful things of recovery that it's given me, is that humility to be willing to learn. I was never open to learning. I was like, no, man, I know it all. Like,
Yeah,
come on,
yeah,
come on. And now it's like, so much of my life has changed just because I became willing to ask questions, like you said, and say, "Hey, I don't know the answer to this. Can somebody help me?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I get an answer that's beyond what I could have ever imagined. So
Right.
it's just a beautiful message. And I think, I think my roommate actually wanted to hop on and ask some questions. He's also a fellow Mexicano, but gringo, you would call him. So Yaron, if you are listening, you are welcome to hop on. I'll throw the link, or anyone else that wants to hop on and ask some questions. I'll open it up to the panel here. Um, I'm gonna drop this comment here from the men of now. So whichever five of you it is, what's up? What's good, gents? Yeah, this kind of the question I asked at the beginning. I imagine professional wrestling takes a toll on the body. And I think whoever did write this was thinking that you were more into weed. Were you
Yeah.
into weed at all? Did you ever?
No, I never got into it. I never really smoked. The only time I ever did, I mean, cigarettes. I never really got into pot. The only time I ever did cigarettes was when I was heavily drinking. But
Mm,
I never went out of my way to get like cigarettes on my own. It was more
okay.
so if I was out and somebody had an extra cigarette, I was like, hey, can I bum one off of you?
Okay.
Um, but yeah, no. So I mean, for instance, in this case, I mean, my advice kind of helped me heal because in my head, I did not want to get addicted to pills.
Mm,
So for me it was alcohol. That was my substance to kind of help me cope with how my body hurts, and it hurts a lot. It still does. Especially when it's cold like right now, and I hate it because everything hurts and my
oh,
arthritis. Um, but um, but yeah, at the time it was alcohol because that's what will help me warm up. It will help me kind of I'm feeling a little numb. I'm feeling tipsy and warm and fuzzy. I feel good.
okay.
My body doesn't hurt anymore. Um, and that's what it was for me. It wasn't the pot. It wasn't the pills. I never really got into it. Um,
It's pretty remarkable actually that you've
yeah,
never
yeah,
gotten to being a stoner. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what my channel focuses mostly on is weed, and most
Mhm,
people. I was so hooked on weed, man. It was bad, but
yeah.
each addiction has its own downfall. My dad was into alcohol, so he almost drank himself to death, and that was his kind
Mhm.
of awakening. So I'm curious, yeah, what is kind of your game plan now? Like, you're sober now. It's been a couple years. Are some of your goals for 2024? Where do you see yourself in a year? Would like to see yourself?
Yeah, so I'm thankful that throughout this whole recovery process and everything that we're doing now, I mean, I'm still sober. I'm still active in my community. I do a lot of stuff with the community when it comes to like the addiction recovery. We do a lot of stuff with them. I own my own wrestling company. I own my own school called Three Legacies Wrestling. It's these guys.
Sick, dude. The
Um,
triangle. I love
so
it. That's
yeah,
awesome.
and that was actually coincidental too when we came up with that because that was one of my symbols when I used to wrestle before I was even into like all of that. Um, so that was just coincidence, really. But so yeah, so I own my own company. I do this. I have students that are in recovery as well too.
Cool.
So that's awesome because it keeps everybody focused and motivated, and we keep going and push forward. Uh, so I'm very grateful for that. We thankfully have sellout crowds consistently. We have and we're moving to a new venue in like 2 weeks on January 20th. We're moving to a much larger venue. It's a college now.
Oh,
Um, Obviously we're not there to preach sobriety, but obviously we show, hey, there's possibility outside of
yeah.
whatever, then they're more welcome to learn more about it. I think one of the important things that we're doing too is educating the folks on what addiction is, because I know a
Mhm.
lot of people gave up on me, and I know what that feels like for people to give up on you.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I know there's a lot of people out there that have either themselves that were given up on, or they have a family member that are kind of suffering from it, and they feel probably like they want to give up on them too.
Nice.
But there is help. If it wasn't for people speaking about it, if it wasn't for somebody out there on social media constantly putting up on Twitter of their recovery process, I would not have been aware that this was even a thing. I would not.
Right.
I mean, in movies. Uh, I've seen in movies, when they post, footage of like them in a circle with like dim light and donuts and the coffee. was like, man, that would be what it is. Like that's kind of whack, a bunch of losers, right? That's the image that I had in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's nothing like that. It's a whole supportive community of people that are helping each other out to get better, so that
Absolutely.
we can go back to being functional members of society and then help other people out as well.
Yeah.
So we're able to do that for other people, and then to bring awareness that there is a bright side on the other side, and we just have to be aware and knowledgeable of it.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
so
Yeah.
I'm thankful that with the company we have this.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, before you continue on that, I'm going to bring in Jaron. He's in the backstage here. And also looks like he could be a wrestler himself. So what's up, Jaron?
There it is.
I'm not actually. We are in Mexico City. That's Mexico City right over there. But no, I was never a wrestler. I went to school in Guadalajara, and guys would try to recruit us for the Lucha Libre out. Actually, it was during the Bush years. Like, well, we want you and your buddy to be Los Hijos de Bush. I'm like, yeah, but do people know? Like, down here in Mexico, sometimes they don't really draw the line between what's performance and what's actual real life. It's like, I don't want to be walking around Guadalajara and have someone try to kick my ass. But
I had one of my friends who was down in a CMLL. His name was Sam Adonis, and he would fly the Trump flag at the shows.
Funny.
At the shows, yeah, and then dude, like he would get like the reaction is what he wanted. Yeah, he used to play that character very well.
Yeah, Joel, we'll have to go here. There's one over here in Roma that's pretty fun. But yeah, it's funny. You'll get grandmas and little kids that just rip his head off, murder him. Like they get insane down here at it. It's good times. Well, the Men of Now question, that was actually one I asked Joel. I didn't realize I was still logged into the account because I was editing videos. I didn't go back to my personal. And then you just asked the question that I was going to ask in terms of what he's up to now. So for this question, I found myself years ago in Texas kind of drinking quite a bit too. And I did go to therapy at that time. I traded that addiction for a new addiction, which was the gym. It seems like you have the gym background too. You're kind of doing the same thing, training other kids. But one thing that my therapist and I really worked on was renegotiating relationships with family members, with friends, with everyone, and then most importantly with alcohol. So I still drink every now and then. I don't have a drop of alcohol in the house, but when I go out, I'll partake a bit. Physically, I'm into my personal health, so I physically don't feel good. So that keeps me from going on the prolonged bender again. But I'm curious if you had to, it sounds like you severed some relationships. So have you gone about either rekindling those relationships and then severing the relationships with the people with whom you probably should sever them?
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, obviously, the important people, like my family, that was the number one to make amends on that one. I'm grateful that for all the years that I put all that BS I put my mom through, all that hell, all those nights that she cried, wondering if I was alive, if they were gonna wake up and they're gonna find like a text message or a call or a message from somebody that I had crashed or they found me in a ditch or something, right? I'm thankful that now, because of all of this, like I'm no longer the reason why my mom cries. So that's a huge plus. My family is important, and I love them so much, and they put up with all my bullshit. So that was very important. There was one relationship with an ex that I feel like she was the one that kind of got away from me for a lot of reasons. And she left, and I don't blame her, right? In retrospect, but when it happened, it was her fault. I hated her. I was like talking so much shit about her, but it was me. And then not too long ago, I had a talk with her, and then I apologized. I opened up to her, and I was waiting for her to just fucking hit me in the face. I was waiting for it, but I was like, you know what? If it happens, it happens. But no, we talked it out, and she's like, I pulled her aside privately, and then I was like, hey, can we talk? So yeah, so we kind of got that out. She's like happily married now, so I don't want to like come into that either. But I was like, hey, I just want to apologize. I'm not expecting you to forgive me. Can you just hear me out? And I'm just putting it out there.
That's a step in the program, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'm sorry for all those years, for the time, everything that I put you through. I'm sorry. You're a great person. It was all me, because it really was. So there's that. And obviously there's a lot of people that I had to cut out completely, because if I went back to that, I know where I would end up. I would go back to my bullshit. So I had to cut those people out. So those are relationships that I severed when I got better, but I'm okay with that.
Mhm. Yeah, letting go of relationships is a important part sometimes in life, especially when they're no longer, vibing with where we are in life. And it's good that you were able to rekindle some of them and at least make peace with them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Are you able to still handle yourself in social situations where there may be alcohol present, or do you completely remove yourself and avoid those entirely?
I mean, I've been thankful that recently I was in a couple where I didn't even, I mean, obviously I'm aware that it's there. I can see it. I can see people are drinking. And I don't think that that idea will ever go away. I don't get the cravings, which is important. I don't get the
I was
cravings,
going to
but
ask
the
you that
idea,
too.
yeah, the idea every now and then, like I'll go to there's a restaurant across the street from the school that we go there every now and then, and it's a bar. It's a sports bar. So I can see it, and then in my head it'll be like, beer will taste good, but I already know where that goes.
Yeah.
So there's no point in that. So I have to learn how to tune it out when it's there. Um, but yeah, no, the idea will always float around. It comes back and forth every now and then, but the craving hasn't. So I've been good with that.
Yeah, it's weird when you mentioned that you had a liquor store around the corner from your house. I did too, and I lived in Texas. And when you mentioned that, the idea in my head came back of all those nights. I was functional. I did really well in my career actually at that point. But the minute the minute it got dark outside, 8 or 9 o'clock, I'd start going to that liquor store, and you have the routine. And
Yeah.
I'd walk there, and I remember feeling really, really good initially walking there. But fast forward a few hours when I was walking to re-up, because usually
Yeah.
I drink the same amount every night, but there'd be nights where I'd walk to re-up and knowing that, okay, I'm going to feel better in the moment, but like a part of me inside kind of felt shitty too. So
Yeah.
I'm curious if you had any of that going on, even in the deepest depth of the addiction where you kind of knew there was something wrong. And then at what point, where you already mentioned you had that point, like, all right, I need help, but did someone kick you in the ass to do that? Did you have a good buddy, a loved one, or is that just kind of your higher self calling, who's probably been there the whole time, like, okay, wake up, it's time to change this?
Yeah, no, I mean it's kind of like the walk of shame almost, because as soon as I would have that walk or that idea back then, as soon because they would start serving at 7 o'clock in the morning. If it was like the Four Locos and stuff, the liquor wasn't until 11. So, but I knew that if all right, I'm up at 5:30. I have about an hour and a half to like get up, and if I walk it over there, I'll get there by the time it's open. So by 7 o'clock, I can get by my Four Locos, and then I'll go back to my room, and then I'll be happy. Or it'll be like, all right, so they're closing. They're closing at 10, at 11. It's 9:45. If I haul ass, I'll get over there with enough time, right? I want to make sure I have enough to last me the night. But yeah, I used to do that too, and I did have some a couple folks that were consistently trying to like tell me, hey, you gotta smarten up. Yeah, you gotta wise up because you're fucking up. But again, I didn't. No, you don't know me. You're just kind of like you're getting in the way. Who are you? What are you telling me this for? What do you know?
Do you think there's deeper issues maybe while you're drinking? So I was going to ask, for example, what got you into wrestling? Was that an escape? And then once you achieved the ultimate success there, you're like, okay, this void's still there. Now I need to fill it with external substances.
So I mean, I've been involved in sports my entire life. I used to play soccer. From soccer, I did a little bit of sports in high school. So I've been involved in sports my entire life. So I guess that's all I know, just sports, and then that sort of a idea of the discipline of like, all right, we got to work out, we got to do this, we got to do that. Obviously, I don't do that too much anymore, but back then that was just everything that I was doing, just sports, work. And so I guess that when all of that stopped back when I left WWE and it all stopped, I need to supplement that adrenaline, and in my case was alcohol. The women, the partying, that's how I was supplementing that adrenaline rush because I didn't have it anymore. So for me, it was alcohol.
And then one last question before I get going, I'll kick it back over to Joel. In terms of going through this process, to what degree did you have to kill your former identity and step into a new identity? And if you were to look back or be able to speak to your former self, one, would you recognize yourself? And two, what would you say to the former version of yourself?
If I were to have there was probably like a point in around maybe like around 2012 going to 2013 where we were doing a lot of cool stuff. And then maybe like the last year I was with WWE, it all started kind of going downhill, and I didn't take a lot of that, like not rejection because it wasn't rejection. I didn't realize that life is like a cycle, right? You're gonna have your good and your bad, and we were on that high roller coaster for so long, and like I said, we were doing main event stuff for a good solid 2 years, 3 years. We were main eventing everything. We were like headlining everything. That when it came time to kind of bring us down a little bit so they can put somebody else up there, it's a cycle, right? And then I didn't understand that. In my head, we're like, why? Why are they bringing us down? Why are we not on the marquees anymore? Why are we not on the main event pay-per-views? Why are we not on this, and this, and this? And I didn't take that well. So it was basically just fuck this. But also too, in life, I got to experience this a lot, and I'm sure it'll happen again eventually as we go along. Because we're doing pretty well right now, and I'm thankful for everything that's happening. But I know eventually it's going to slow down, and it's just how I react to that. I had this trip many years ago, and the one thing that came out of it that was positive was in it. I'm looking down at a yin yang, and there's this female voice that comes up, and then she goes like, "Do you know what you're doing or where you're at?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, whatever." Right? She's like, "You know what that is?" I was like, "It's a yin yang." She's like, "Do you understand what that means?" Yeah, I gave the basic traditional like, "Oh, well, there's a good and there's a bad, there's a positive and a negative." He's like, "Yeah, to a point." But it's a circle, and then in each part of it, there's a positive and a negative. So in, let's say, the negative is the black side and the positive is the white side, but in each one, you have a little bit of both. And as you see it, you have that thick part of the black side, and it thins out, and then the white side kind of comes in, and then it thins out, and then it becomes a cycle. It's up to you how fast you decide to stay on each side, on each part of that cycle. If you decide to dwell on all the negativity, you're going to stay there for a very long time. But if you decide to get up and and then move forward, you're going to get back to the positive side of life, and then that's when you have to embrace it, and you have to be mindful and aware. I mean, I know I'm adding my summary later on to that, but it's all a cycle. It's all a cycle. And I didn't get that. I didn't understand that back then. I just figured life sucks. This is terrible. I hate everything. There's no reason for me being here anymore. Life is over. Like, no, man, it's a cycle. It'll work itself out. Just got to keep pushing forward. Don't dwell on it.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my questions. I definitely appreciate it. This has been a good listen, Joel. This is a fantastic stream. Guys, if you're watching, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And if you're ever down in Mexico City, hit us up. We live in Polanco. We're actually roommates right now, so we're out and about.
I'll do a quick plug for you guys. I mean, Jaron, you have a channel called Gringo Guides where you're starting to teach Spanish or teach English to Spanish people.
To gringos from a gringo perspective. Yeah, I just changed the content side. So that's why I asked you that question, Jesus, about the identity, because I was doing a lot of the dating topics, kind of manosphere, red pill stuff for the longest time. But then I got to the point, like, I'm more than just the ability to get laid. And there's other things I want to do in my life. But living down here, guys come down and visit all the time. And I've been on and off in Mexico for 20 years. So, okay, that might be interesting from the gringo perspective. How do you actually make the move down here? How do you get acculturated? How do you learn the language? How do you actually build the life down here? And then I have plenty of Mexican friends here. They're always asking about English. And I'm a pretty good English teacher. So I was like, well, maybe I can speak Spanish.
Yeah. I think also too, when you were talking about switching that identity, so I was so focused on me for so long that I eventually you have to give back to life, to society, to other people. I was very thankful that I got to achieve a lot of things that a lot of folks only dream of. I mean, I worked at 4 WrestleManias. I got to work with like the biggest stars in professional wrestling.
I couldn't imagine that. Just the come down from that alone, that dopamine rush, constantly hitting, just that alone is insane.
But I'm also grateful that I got to go through all that BS because I can appreciate what I have now. I needed to go through all that, and at the time I hated it. Goddamn, I hated it. And like I said, I was suicidal, and I tried, man. I tried. But I'm glad I didn't go through with it. because now I'm able to offer this back to somebody else. And then those same hopeful trainees that I have now that eventually want to get to that point that I got to achieve, I'm able to guide them through it, and I'm able to help them along the way as much as I possibly can, get them prepared. And if I happen to see that they're going down a path that I was going through, I can tell them, hey, chill the fuck out, slow down, because I've seen this story before, and I've been through it, and I've seen this movie. Slow down. Let's take a step back and let's kind of reassess what's happening, because you're going down a path that, and I'm thankful that I have seen this with past students, that I've been able to reach out to them and be like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? You're doing a lot of things that are kind of iffy. I'm not here to preach to you, but I'm just saying I've been through some shit, and there's a lot of patterns.
It sounds like you found your purpose in saving your life. Now you're using that to save the lives of others from preventing them from going down that road. So definitely doing the Lord's work. God bless. And thanks for having me up here, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Jaron. Thanks for the great questions. See you soon. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, dude, shout out again, Jaron. Guys, check out his channel, especially if you're into the Spanish content. Yeah, maybe Jesus, you guys could collab sometime. I think you guys have a good. You kind of fit his brand, so I think you guys have a good combo. Yeah, my take on that question about the identity, I think, Jaron, if you're still listening, something I heard in the way you phrased it was, how did you have to kill that identity? And kind of what I've learned, I was the same way. I was like, dude, I gotta, I can't be this person anymore. Like, it's totally bad. What's really helped me over this last couple of years is learning that it's about reparenting that part and embracing the part that we don't like. Because I think a good example would be is if you look at a parent and they told their kid, hey, you fucked up, I'm going to kill you. The kid probably would, be very afraid and not want to change. So they have a ton of support groups in the same like addiction sense around reparenting the inner child, it's called. So we've all had parts that were wounded or abandoned when we were younger, and it's really learning to kind of love those parts, even the ones that maybe are a little naughty, and kind of giving that part the constructive feedback and necessary instruction that it didn't get as a child. And in doing that, I found a lot more harmony within. I'm a lot less like, if I do something that I don't quite approve of, I'm not upset about myself anymore. I'm not like ashamed or super judgmental. I'm just like, all right, like I did the best I could with the information I had, and going forward, we're going to act better. And kind of almost having a talk like as if it was a child. So I think that's a great question. I think we could definitely do some streams on that and just like reparenting the wounded parts of ourselves. So Jose, yeah. Oh my God.
The name's right there. The name is right there.
Dude, it's like, I think like baseball, Jose Rodriguez, right? Like I think that's just in my head. Anyway, Jesus, to wrap us up, it's been a great stream. Can you last few pieces of advice would you give somebody that's struggling with addiction or just starting to get clean?
I mean, it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. I used to see asking for help as a sign of weakness, and no, if anything, admitting that you need help is a sign of strength, and actually reaching out for somebody. Because oftentimes, man, the answer is going to be right in front of you. We just have to look up, because we walk around with our heads low and then looking downward because we're ashamed or we feel guilt. And all we have to do is look up, because there's always going to be somebody out there that's trying to help you out. And it's just a matter of asking. If you don't see it, just ask, because it is possible. And with recovery, I mean, we have to break that stigma that us as men can ask for help, because that's something that, I mean, especially as a Latino man, like, dude, we don't ask for help. We don't share our feelings. We don't do any of that. And that's something that I'm still working on, because I'm not good at sharing my feelings at all. And my therapist, they've been trying for a while, and they're trying, but it's a process that I'm still working on. But yeah, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's a sign of strength.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. What a last message to share. And guys, so to wrap us up, Jesus, where can people find, guys? I need help with remembering names. So if anyone's out there, please, I'll pay you big money. Just help me.
So I mean, yeah, you can always show me. I know my Instagram is down there. It is down there.
Yeah.
But for me, if you just go to Three Legacies Wrestling and then just follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, yeah, all the information is there. Just kind of, peep at it, check it out, follow all that, share it, spread the word of what we got going on, because it's something pretty special for not just myself, but the students, the whole community. And we're going to be growing, and we're going to be pushing forward, and we got a lot of awesome stuff along the way. So just check that out. And then, yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you guys definitely give Jesus a follow, and I'm sure reach out if you have any questions and all that. And something you said, Jesus, which sparked my memory, is that in terms of like the masculinity thing, like I'm happy you touched on that, because yes, in today's day and age, it is looked down upon to be a human being with emotions. And so we have a community that can help you get better with that, and in all areas: financial, emotional, relational, dating, fitness, addiction, anything that really is a struggle to you. We have people that have a lot of experience and that can help you overcome some of those challenges. So that is called the Men of Now community. We actually just launched our Instagram, so check it out, Men of Now _. And there's 6 of us that are going to help guide you in the right direction to find the help and support that you need. It's a great community. We have weekly calls with the members, and we do book club, and we do all kinds of different webinars and stuff. And it's just, and then podcasts like this. So it's a really cool thing. Jaron is also a part of it as well. He's one of the admins. And so we really invite you to hop in and kind of give it a shot and see if it's something that, could really help you and change your life. It's just like Jesus said, like sometimes you just got to ask for help. And as soon as you realize you're not going to be judged or shamed or ridiculed or pushed aside for asking questions, and you find out that actually people are out there to help you. Maybe in high school, people weren't really into that, like your friends, but we're adults here. So we're all leveling up together. So definitely invite anybody to join that. You can hit the link down below. And then as well, if you are struggling with addiction and you want help, marijuana specifically, reach out to me for a call. I help people quit marijuana quickly, efficiently, and get them on a path to where they don't really need it anymore, because they see they have so much more to live with. And if you've been on the channel before, you've seen the videos, you've seen some of the people that have come on that have gotten clean and from the coaching, and it's just great. Like they're living a brand new life. And I'm just like, some of them are even good friends now, because they just put the work in and got it done. So for that, you can hit the link down below, schedule a call with me, $20, 40 minutes, find out where you are in your journey, what can be to you for assistance, and kind of how we can start getting you sober like today. Because although it may seem daunting and there may be a lot of stuff to work through, you can make progress right now by just implementing a few kind of mindset shifts and behavioral changes. So guys, with that, I appreciate you again, Jesus, and we'll definitely have to do one again. I know Chris said he'd be down to come on, and we could do maybe some other calls. You talked as well that you guys had an Amazon special that came out, so guys, check that out on Prime. What is that again? What's the name of that?
It's a Night of Recovery from the Moravian Center. Definitely check it out. We got a lot of awesome things with that, and a whole lot more that's coming along too. So definitely check it out on Amazon Prime or Prime Video.
Prime Video. Yeah, thank you, Jeff Bezos. Yeah. Okay, so cool. If you want to stay on a little bit after, just to kind of debrief, do that. And then otherwise, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great one. Have a great 2024, and we'll see you next time.